Welcome into this week's Football Recruit with our Otis Kirk. And hey, Otis, let's get straight to it. I know we're going to talk about some recruits, some commitments that Arkansas got this week, but the biggest news of the day, Jermiel Ashley fired the defensive line coach. What do you know about that situation?
Well, I think it was kind of a twofold deal. What I've been told, one was there was some recruiting issues there. I guess not getting a player he recruited to Tulsa and signed, and then came and visited here last weekend that we talked about on the show last week. Didn't get Jackson player. I think that was kind of part. Maybe that might have been the final straw. Maybe, but there was also I think just overall, I mean, Sam's made a point to say if you don't recruit well, he's not going to, I mean, it's just part of what Sam believes, and he's
Mhm.
not going. One thing Arkansas's got to do, they've got to find a defensive line coach though, and try to get some stability to that position because it's been a constant turnover since John Scott left for at South Carolina. He
Yeah.
was here 1 year with Bielema, and then the first year with Chad Morris, and then it's been one guy after another since then, and that's what just got to get some stability there. I think they're looking at some coaches. Obviously Brick
Mhm.
Haley's name's going to come up. He coached with Coach Odom at Missouri, was a grad assistant here.
Mhm.
Uh, he uh, he just took a job at Minnesota, so I don't know what they're throwing stuff at us. Listen,
I'm
uh,
sorry. My pen broke.
oh, that way it was. I thought they're throwing you instead of me. They probably meant for it to come at me. Uh,
I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. No, Brick Haley is a name that's obviously he coached for Coach Odom at Missouri. He was a grad assistant here at one time. I think there's a coach, uh, Coach Scruggs at Cincinnati could be a possibility. And then Coach Thibodeau just took a job, I think, at SMU. He was at OU.
Mhm.
You know, OU's had some changeover in their coaches, but and so I think those are some names that are out there. There's obviously, I mean, it's just happened. So I'm not saying any of those guys will get the job, but those are three names to definitely watch.
Mhm.
But Brick Kelly was out of coaching for a year. Really, I speculated a lot on him last year that would be who they would hire to replace Coach LeBlanc, but they ended up hiring Jamel Ashley. But I found out that there was a deal where Coach uh, Haley decided to sit out a year.
Mhm.
So I think that was played in. Oh, there's some situations there. I think all that played into it. But now I think I mean, obviously now he's back in coaching. I think he's definitely someone to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear names like Ed Orgeron, and I threw out the name of the guy at Georgia, which
That would be
hey, I
interesting.
mean those would be great hires. But I don't know that they're possible. I think more so with the names I mentioned. But we'll see. I mean, it's early, and with
Yeah.
Sam, I've learned one thing with Sam and this staff: don't count out anything with
Yeah.
them till you know it's not happening. I mean, you say it can't happen, but it can. I've learned to not say that with Sam. So we'll see what happens. But those are some names I threw out, realistic names that I think are out there
Yeah.
and have a possibility at.
All right. Well, looking forward to seeing how this one develops. Let's get into the players. Loved the commitment video that they put out on Twitter yesterday. Luke Haas committing the tight end out of Bixby, Oklahoma. That is a huge get for this Razorback team.
That was that Dow Loggins is knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
There's 3 4-star tight ends. He got them all. I
Yeah.
mean, he went after them, and I know the realistic expectation at first was, can he get 2 of the 3?
Mhm.
Well, then he goes and gets all 3. Now, obviously, they haven't signed yet, so he's got to hold on to them. But no,
Yeah.
I think I mean, it just shows you that that's the way Sam recruited at Arkansas when he was an assistant. I
Yeah.
mean, Cal's recruiting like Sam Pittman did. I mean, he not being, the kid commits to OU. Haas Dow never stops recruiting him.
Yeah.
They keep recruiting him, and it paid off. You never
Yeah.
know what's going to happen in the future, and that's why you don't stop recruiting kids. But Shamar Easter down at Ashdown is a big time player, and then Jaden Hale will be here next weekend. He's from Kansas. But I'll say this: people talk about whether they're worried about getting 3 tight ends. Would one of them decommit? But look, Easter is the type kid. It's 6'5", 225 pounds, athletic. He and Luke both. I keep saying Dylan Hodge. Dylan's his brother. He's not the commitment. I don't know why I keep saying that, but Luke and Shamar can flank out. They
Yeah.
can go out there. You think you will be a cornerback and try to cover those two kids?
Mhm.
I mean, you've got a mismatch in the secondary when you send those big guys. They're both, they're tall. Jaden Ham's about 6'6" himself. But you've got some mismatches there. And I know Sam would love to play two tight ends more
Mhm.
than they have.
Right.
I mean,
They just haven't had the depth. Yeah.
haven't had. They've had. If injuries could happen, they've happened in that position.
Yeah.
Aaron Alley came in hurt last year. Dax Courtney's
Mhm.
coming in hurt this year. I mean, Hudson Henry was hurt on and off. I mean, they've had some bad luck in
Right.
that position. Trey Knox is helping there. We
Mhm.
know that. Blake Kern's out of eligibility. Thank God they had that COVID year
Yeah.
because
That was
Kern
huge for
came back
them.
and really, that would have been big to not have him come back.
Right.
But so no, Arkansas that was a great commitment for him, for Luke. I mean, for Luke Haas.
Mhm.
And so, that was great.
All right. Yeah, let's move on. Everett Rousseau is a linebacker out of Cedar Grove, Georgia, also a class of 2023. Again, those Georgia roots that Sam Putman put down when he was there clearly paying off.
Yeah, Jimmy Smith too, because that was the high
Yeah.
school he coached at. He got Rashad Dubanoff in that school. Then they got Jaden Hazelwood from OU, but through Ellenwood, Cedar Grove, and now they get Everett Rousseau, who was at camp last summer. Very good pickup. I saw him at camp. He's about 6'2", 220, 215, 220.
Mhm.
He can run. He got a state championship. He was one of the priorities. Coach Shear's got about 3 or 4 priorities at that position, and that was one of them. And so that was a great pickup there. And he committed very early this morning. Thank God I'm an early riser, and I appreciate my bulldog waking me up, scratching at my door this morning, like, "Hey, Daddy, get up! There's a commitment." But no, he wakes me up. Most mornings I'm like, "Get away from my door, you idiot!" No, this morning he woke me up, and I got up and I saw that commitment. And like I said, I need to give him an extra milk bone or something over there.
He's looking
But,
out. He's looking out for Dad.
Yeah, I'm sorry I keep looking because he's got something, and when he has something and he's being that quiet, it's dangerous. But anyway, getting back to the job. But anyway, Russo was one of the kids they really wanted. He came in yesterday, and he'd been here before, but they're building a pipeline into that school, and that's a state championship school.
Yeah.
But you get Jaden Hazelwood, Rashad Dubanon, and now Russo. I mean, you're getting a pipeline into one of the best schools in Georgia. And Sam Pittman, Jimmy Smith, and those guys, Mike Shear, they're playing into that. I mean, and Jimmy, getting those guys, and Kenny Guyton at wide receiver, guy Hazelwood. So I mean, they're really, but Jimmy Smith is playing a big role in getting those kids, Alyssa, and that's huge because that's one of the better high schools down there. They have kids every year. They have prospects, multiple prospects every year, and getting into that school is huge. Anytime you can get a pipeline into a major school, no matter which state, it's huge.
Yeah, I love it. All right, Caleb James, a guy who committed earlier this week from Mansfield, Texas, a defensive lineman. You say you got a fun story about him, though.
Yeah, I talked to Caleb last night. First time I've talked to him since he actually committed, because I talked to him beforehand and got that long story, all the quotes for the story.
Yeah.
But I talked to him last night after he got out of the prospect, and I asked him. I said, "What happened when Luke committed?" Because I know Luke got up there in front of him. And this before I'd seen the video. And Caleb goes, "Sam, after Luke committed, Sam goes, somebody turn that damn jukebox on." Right there during the deal, he said, "Somebody, Sam, turn that damn jukebox on."
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and Caleb's mother got a great laugh out of that. She after I put it on Twitter, she gets on Twitter and says, "I was there, I can confirm that." And so, yeah, it was great. And Braylon Russell, who's another kid committed, not on our list, but Braylon also talked about that a little bit too when he came out. I asked him about it. He laughed. He laughed. He said, "Yeah, it did happen." So, yeah, that sounds like Sam. I mean, it was a loose deal, but Caleb committed. That was something that we talked about, I think 5 or 6 weeks in a row on here. Knew it was coming. It was no surprise, but great pickup for Arkansas. Great pickup. So,
how did Prospect Day go overall? It sounds like it was a very successful weekend for the Razorbacks.
Oh man, they put out about 7 or 8 offers. Not all of them were at the prospect camp, but I think about 5 or 6 of them were new offers, including it was great. I mean, those kids came in. basketball game was at night, so I didn't get to talk to very many of them because I didn't feel like being over there at 10 o'clock at night, catching them as they left. But no, it was good. I mean, it was a great turnout. They had kids from a bunch of kids from Alabama, but some Russo from Georgia. They had some Arkansas kids, obviously Texas kids. Caleb, then they had 2 or 3 from Oklahoma, and I think Arkansas is trying to just get everybody over in
Mhm.
Oklahoma. I mean, if, and I'll throw this out here on Oklahoma, which has nothing to do with Junior Day, and I'm not going to expand on, but Gentry Williams from Tulsa Booker T, they're still recruiting him hard.
Mhm.
He is not signed with OU. Yeah, he's committed there, but they're still recruiting him hard, Lisa.
Mhm.
So anything can happen. I mean,
Yep.
I think he'll go to OU. If he didn't, he might go to Southern Cal with Lincoln Riley.
Mhm.
But Arkansas is not giving up on him, so
Yep.
that's another possibility there.
That's good. Well, hey, I tell you what, Otis, you're always on top of it. If you want to continue to follow Otis and all his stories, head on over to hogville.net. You can follow him also on Twitter. And again, this Jermichael Ashley story, Otis is going to have all the insights. So follow along while we continue to follow that story as well. Otis, always such a great time catching up, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Alyssa. Have a good one.